Hey, David Judge here, and today we're going to discuss how to keep all of your SEO efforts when you redesign a new website. Now, I'm making this video today because it's actually really common when businesses launch a new website not to think of the existing website and all of the reputation associated with the old website to the new. Now, we've had this happen with new clients that approach us after they've disappeared from the search engines, only to discover that they launched the new website and they didn't follow a few basic principles to continue on the reputation across from the old to the new. Now, this is an important subject, especially if you build a site and you miss these steps and you're essentially throwing away your existing authority and reputation in the bin and starting all over from scratch again. Now, these are intermediate strategies, meaning that you'll actually need a reasonable level of knowledge to understand the principles. And with that in mind, I'll explain each step and give you an outline of the basics. Yeah, sounds good? Okay, so let's get into it and share what you should keep in mind when you're designing your new website. So number one, it's a good place to start. Keep the same URL structure or 301 redirect your old URLs to your new URLs. Now, the URL of your website is like the web address. For example, davidjudge.com is my homepage URL. Now, I have sub-pages on my site, for example. This post is davidjudge.com/how to keep all of your SEO when redesigning your website. So when I publish this post, Google go through this page here and they index it. So they add this page to their search engine. And as I point people back to it and people link back to it, I gain more authority around the subject and I'm creating quality content around it. And this URL is now where this post that I have made exists. Now, let's say I redesign my website and I decide I'm going to change the URL to, let's say, this one here instead. Now, when Google goes back to my site and they look for the first URL that they originally indexed and they can't find it, what do you think they do next? They possibly think that it's been removed, yeah? Now, Google is algorithmically driven, meaning that it's run by a program on a computer, and it will now remove this page and all the authority associated with this page from the website. So essentially, I'm losing a tiny bit of authority. Now imagine what would happen if the same thing occurred with hundreds and hundreds of pages. What do you think this would do to my website's authority then? Now, it's actually similar to watching your website experiencing a stock market crash. Now, the way you overcome this is simply to set up 301 redirects from your old URLs to your new URLs. Now, 301 redirect is actually called a permanent redirect. Now, this means when a person or a search engine tries to go to the original URL, they are automatically directed to the new URL and they are told, this is where the page is now. Now, if you set this up as the way I mentioned it, it will actually carry a good percentage of your authority from the old URL to the new URL, which will in turn make your site a seamless experience for the search engines. Now, this actually leads me on to the second point. To carry, number two, carry your content over to the new site. Now, this is one of the biggest no-nos I see, where a business builds a new website which looks gorgeous, is mobile compatible and has a number of really good conversion funnels in place. Then the site gets moved and the person responsible for it thinks they're starting afresh, so there's no need to copy the, let's say, 1,500 pages of existing quality content that delved in deep in a range and variety of subjects within your industry. All of a sudden, your site goes from an amazing level of visibility to nada. Why? When the search engines rank the pages on your site, they look at the individual pages on your site and they also look at lots of grouped pages together. Now, I call this collective content, whereas all of the content collected together forms a picture of authority within specific subjects around your overall website. Now, if you remove all of this valuable content, the search engines are no longer able to confirm you are an authority on the subjects you have been ranking for. So it's really important to carry your existing quality content over. Okay, number three, make sure your new website can be indexed by the search engines. Now, when you build a new website, you would often have that first site sitting in what they call development stage. And during development stage, you really don't want the search engines to find it. So you would try to move them away from having a look at it by adding a no index so they don't index those pages. Now, when the site goes live, it's really important to make sure you switch this off. In other words, you encourage the search engines to find and to index these pages in their search results. Now, there's a really easy way you can do this, which leads me on to point number 4, which is add Google Webmaster tools to your website. Now, when you add WMT, as the cool people in my industry call it, you are allowing Google to tell you how they see your site, any issues they may have, and most importantly, if they have indexed your site. Now, if there are any issues, there should always be a point of reference, and they will actually tell you that the bunch of pages that you used to have that were indexed are now gone. And they'll tell you if you're not allowing them to visit your site. They'll also tell you if you have any other areas of concern you should look at. So yes, Webmaster Tools or WMT should be added to every single website already, and it's important, especially if you're moving across to a new site. And this leads me on to the last point, which is number 5. When you do set up your website and Webmaster Tools, you should 1. Fetch your site as Google, 2. Get Google to recrawl your site, and 3. Resubmit your sitemap. Now these are all pretty easy to do, and you can see that, you know what, it only takes a couple of minutes to do it. And by completing this last step, you're basically saying, hey Google, hey, I've changed my site and I want you to check it out again for me. Please check it out again. Okay, so that's basically it. And if you do what I've just mentioned there, what you're doing is you're working with an SEO agency. Make sure that you're not presuming they're going to do this for you, or if you're working with a web design company, make sure you presume they're not going to do this for you, because it's not enough to think that your web design company will sort it out. You really do need to ask them, and you need to check it out for yourself and make sure that you're notifying your SEO agency of the different steps. Okay, enough said. Great. In the next session, we're going to discuss using external agencies to do your online marketing and how much involvement you should have in the process. Now, I'm going to explain the importance of working together rather than just giving the whole lot to them and praying that they get you the result. Now, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer, make sure that you get in contact with me, and I would love to hear from you. As always, this is David Judge, talking online marketing and showing you how to grow your business, yes, your business, online.